Thank you for stopping by. This is Jeffrey Weiss, your political activist, keeping you informed of local and world events. Today we discuss the most gutless man in America. John Bolton has been called a war hawk and is an advocate for regime change in Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela, and repeatedly called for the termination of the Iran deal. He was a supporter of the Iraq War and continues to support his decision against overwhelming evidence that the rationale for the war was completely fabricated. The war was not justified, it was ill-thought and unnecessary, where 6,000 young men have already died. After all of those previous attempts failed and led to more deaths, more destruction, more chaos, more ruin, here comes John Bolton once again advocating the use of troops. A Republican, his political views have been described as American nationalists, conservative, and neoconservative. Bolton rejected the last term and called himself pro-American instead. Bolton attended Yale University, earning a BA and graduated summa cum laude in 1970. He was a member of the Yale Political Union. He attended Yale Law School from 1971 to 1974, where he shared classes with his friend, degenerate Clarence Thomas, earning a JD degree in 1974. In 1972, Bolton was a summer intern for Vice President Spiro Agnew, a lying, thieving, disgusting piece of dirt who served as a role model for Bolton. He joined the National Guard as a way to avoid service in the Vietnam War. He trained for 18 weeks at Fort Polk in Louisiana. After serving in the National Guard for 4 years, he served in the United States Army Reserve until the end of his enlistment 2 years later. He wrote in his Yale 25th reunion book, "I confess I had no desire to die in Southeast Asian rice paddies. I considered the war in Vietnam already lost." In an interview, Bolton discussed his comment in the reunion book, explaining that he decided to avoid service in Vietnam because by the time I was about to graduate in 1970, it was clear to me that the opponents of the Vietnam War had made it certain we could not prevail, and that I had no great interest in going there to have Ted Kennedy give it back to the people I might die to take it away from. So, what you see is a very typical pattern for a gutless sociopath. Make others fight for a cause only he feels is justified. Allow young boys to die because he must be proven right in his thinking. He wants to send young boys to their death tens of thousands of miles from home while he sits in an air-conditioned office surrounded by his bodyguards, to die in the same kinds of wars he rationalized not fighting and dying in. Does anyone see anything wrong with this picture? He is a gutless, two-faced hypocrite who, if he wants war with other countries, should pick up a fucking rifle and be the first to go in and show faith and confidence in his abilities. John Bolton, NSA director, once said of Ban Ki-moon, one of the greatest secretary generals in the history of the UN, a man who won the Nobel Peace Prize. What he said, Ban Ki-moon was an idiot, and threatened other UN representatives if they didn't support America's agenda. He sees war as the answer to all problems, almost the same quote as Joseph Stalin, "Death solves all problems." Bolton is certifiably insane. John Bolton once suggested the organization, the UN, would be no worse off if you blew up the top 10 floors of the headquarters. Former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, in an interview with the Financial Times, said Bolton was a lousy negotiator. It was remarkable that for someone who spent that much time at the State Department, As smart as he wasn't a very effective diplomat or even a negotiator. Anand recalled one moment when he confronted the combative U.S. envoy for bullying people. Anand said he was at a luncheon with Bolton and other UN Security Council members when Bolton sought to kill off a discussion of some disagreeable matter. Uncle Sam is not going to like this, Anand recalled Bolton saying, according to the FT interview. So I said, look, stop going around trying to intimidate people. Let them speak their mind, and you can put your views across, but don't try to intimidate them with Washington and Uncle Sam. And of course, the council members were very relieved to hear it. Make a note that the average envoy at the UN at that time was 5 foot 4 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds. Bolton is a very brave man. If my articles interest you, please use the link to check out my website and books. Thank you very much.